Midjourney just trained language models to be more creative, to write more creatively. They say that after you fine-tune language models to follow instructions, they also lose on creativity and start to write in a more similar fashion. And this is what happens when I also use ChatGPT. It feels like very repetitive as opposed to a human writer who would write about a lot broader set of topics and in a lot broader set of ways. LLMs usually in post-training focus on improving generation quality but not diversity. The key idea here is to measure and reward the model based on deviation. So how much does a high quality prompt differ from other prompts? So they first want to measure for quality as well as deviation, and then reward the model if it has both of those. They train a very small 8B parameter Llama model, and it has diversity similar to human created text. And the quality of the creative writing is similar to GPT-4o and DeepSeek R1, who are a lot bigger. So these are very crazy results. Help me spread AI benefits full-time, Patreon link below. In creative writing, there is no single gold answer, but multiple very good writings can be written based on a single prompt. For example, write a story about a dog on the moon. This can have a story about dogs' adventures or dogs' lonely life on the moon. Right now, using PPO or DPO reinforcement learning algorithms increases quality of the output, but in the process decreases diversity, because the AI is going to converge towards some kind of writing that gives it highest quality and gives it most reward during these trainings. They collected data from r/writing prompts. Here, somebody gives prompts in this Reddit page, and other people are writing stories on those prompts. So for each prompt, there is a bunch of different stories. So they paired up. So we have a prompt, and we have a bunch of different stories for that prompt. That's all human data. And so they create pairs of bad prompt and good, bad story and good story, and they measure that by the good story having 5 or more upvotes, and a single story will just appear once in the, like, it will not be multiple times with different pairs. So then they trained the AI based on these pairs. They show it bad one, they show it good one, and what happens is that AI learns to create good and diverse stories. So for each prompt, LLM generates a bunch of different outputs, and for all of those outputs, they measure quality of those outputs and diversity of those outputs. So how did they measure quality? In these techniques, DRPO and ORPO, you need to train a separate AI model that's going to be a judge, that's going to score. So they trained a separate model that's going to look at the human-generated prompt, human-generated answer, and predict the upvotes, how many upvotes that got. So they just took that data from Reddit. So this way, this judge will learn how to, what makes a good answer, good story to a prompt. But upvotes still may not be perfect measurement of the quality, because some good quality prompts or stories can be buried further below in the comments. So nobody sees them and nobody upvotes them. So when a new story is generated from a prompt, it's fed into the judge model, the prompt and the story, and the judge model will predict upvotes. That is how good the humans would find this story. They measure diversity with cosine similarity. So you can transform any text into a bunch of numbers, array of numbers, that's going to encode its meaning. This is how LLMs work. So LLMs, the way they know how to generate text is they transform text and meanings into numbers, because computers like numbers. So you can use the same strategy to encode two different stories, and if their if their cosine similarity between those vectors, because when you encode something, when you have an array of numbers, that's a vector, that's a point in a high dimensional space. So if those two vectors are very different, that means their meaning is different, which means they are diverse. So they're going to measure semantic diversity, so different plots, different topics, and style diversity, the way text is expressed, and voice with which it's written. So what I explained is how to measure semantic similarity, just compare vectors. But how do you measure style diversity, even if the story is about same topic and semantic similarity is similar? How do you measure style? So they use two different models, one for encoding and measuring semantic similarity, and the other for measuring style. So this style model that they use, this is a different model than the embedding model they use, and it's trained to recognize stylistic differences. For example, word choice, sentence length, expressions in different styles, so the training of it is different, and then to encode that information into a vector. So now similar vectors will have similar style, and different vectors will have different style. Punctuation use, flow, rhythm, those could be all stylistic components of writing. They use these two reward models, which are direct preference optimization and odds ratio preference optimization. And in both of them, they have prompt, winning response, which is a good response, high quality and diverse response, and losing response, which is a response that is either not high quality or not too diverse. So they're gonna use both of these to show to the model what a good response looks like and what a bad response looks like. So what DPO does is here, this means how likely model is to generate good answer given the prompt, and how likely model is to generate bad answer given the prompt. But what is this down below? This is important. It's comparing how likely the model is now to how likely the model was when it started or before it started in the beginning. And same for the winning answer. So it's finding this ratio between how likely model is now to generate good over how likely in the beginning, and same for the bad answer. So if the improvement now is big over the beginning one, then this number will be big, because if the improvement is big. And that means that this difference will be also a big number. So because if this is a big number minus a smaller number, because let's say during training, model learns to decrease probability of generating bad answer. So if this is smaller, it can still maybe be bigger than this, but hopefully not. But if this is very small, then this whole number will be smaller. So you will have big number minus small number will give you a big number. And that shows how much the model improved compared to the beginning. So this whole formula is guiding model on how to what is a good response, what is a bad response. And its goal is going to be to generate the biggest possible number here. That's a score of the improvement. ORPO has a similar objective. The first one is make sure probability of generating a good response is as high as possible, and make sure that odds of generating good response is a lot higher than odds of generating bad response. So they are also introducing deviation. to create diversified DPO and ORPO. And the objective here is the degree of how much a training instance differs from all other instances with the same prompt. So the objective is to create a high quality prompt or answer story, and that it deviates from typical outputs as much as possible. So in diversified DPO, DDPO, they just add this guy here, small guy, to the DPO function. So this guy is going to strengthen and multiply whatever number we get here. And if you remember, if the answer is good, high quality, then the number here will be big. And if that high quality answer is also diverse, then number here will be big. And then you will get a very big multiplication. But if either of these are lower, then the multiplication is not going to be that strong. And in the diversified ORPO, they add this weight to both of the objectives of higher probability and higher odds of good over odds of bad. So they multiply both of them. So they used parameter efficient fine-tuning, LoRa. Maybe they used Ansloth.ai or something. Let's see some results. Llama 3.18b, semantic diversity on this axis, semantic diversity, and Reddit reward. And after that, we will look at style diversity and Reddit reward. So you want to increase Reddit reward and you want to increase semantic diversity. So you want to be here, top right. Okay, these circles are these big commercial models like O1, GPT-4o, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. You see that they have a high Reddit reward but low diversity. They are very similar. They are not generating diverse. And you see that the red squares are DDPO, what they trained. And the blue, these blue things, diamonds, are DORPO, DORPO. So you see that the red squares are exactly where they need to be. Very high reward and very high diversity. And this DRPO, for this case, semantic diversity, have a bit smaller reward. So DRPO wins over DORPO here. This yellow one is human data. So this is from the Reddit. So you see that it has a bit smaller Reddit reward than these models, but it has a lot of diversity. And this doesn't mean that human data is worse than these others, because they just have this higher Reddit reward, but there might also be flaws in calculating the Reddit reward. Let's now check style diversity. DDPO also scores very high on Reddit reward and style diversity. And DORPO also scores high, not as high as DDPO. So DDPO seems to be better option for Llama 3.18b. And for Mistral 7b, this V03, DDPO also seems to be best, although in this model the Reddit reward is a bit lower for these for their training than the big models, GPT-4o, O1 and stuff. That's semantic diversity and style diversity. The score is pretty similar. For those who want to check the example, you can pause and check here. You can see that GPT-4o has a lot less diversified samples. So for example, one of them is a newly crowned king grapples with self-doubt while his beloved offers reassurance. And then their model is like, a reluctant new king grapples with the overwhelming burden of fear of leadership. And if you then read other ones, they are a lot more diversified, and GPT-4o, at least to me, feels like a lot more repetitive. So here, they just asked humans to vote which of the models, so it's gonna be this DDPO or GPT-4o, has highest quality story, and they voted this guy more, which is their DDPO, and more diverse, 100% voted for DDPO. And there was also like an option to vote that it's a hard decision. So if these percentages don't add up to 100, that's because some of them were hard decisions. And then they also voted DDPO versus DPO, which is just their diversified version of this algorithm. And what this both means is that this model was trained on both semantic diversity and stylistic diversity. So 50% for the DDPO versus DPO, 34% on the quality, and diversity 62% over 26%. This is because the main difference here between this guy and this guy is diversity. So it makes sense that this one is scored a lot more on diversity. I'll show you some examples that you can read. This is about teleportation, short stories. I'll just keep scrolling. You can pause. And we have all of this kind of stuff. Oh my god, it's so long. Oh my god, there's so many stories. Okay. Check my channel for more papers and support me on Patreon to allow me to spread this knowledge of AI and accelerate AI progress full time.